going on, guys? Sorry about the delay. And just making sure we're live. Looks like we're live. And I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely hate PCs. I am not a fan of PCs. As you can see, I've got my Mac sitting over here. But this damn PC, man, never wants to connect. Nothing ever wants to work on there. Tell Dan it has to be plugged in to work. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. It was plugged in. I'd call you a name, but it's not polite. So we're going to talk a little bit about today. We're going to talk about second chance and RDAP, and can you combine those two together to get some additional time outside of the federal prison system. And I'm sure many of you already know the answer to this, but believe me when I tell you, many people do not know the answer. So we're going to talk about that in a few minutes, give you all about 30 seconds more to join us. I don't know how many people are in the room right now. Maybe Jenny or CJ has count over there. I'm not sure if, I don't know. What are you watching over there, CJ?
Good. 8 watching.
8 watching? Only 8? All right, as soon as we get about 50 people in here, we'll start talking. Hey, what's going on, Junior? Got another client in the room. So, can you do RDAP and second chance combined together? And why am I talking about this? The reason why I'm talking about this is I get probably 1 or 2 phone calls a week, along with several emails from both some of you that are not in prison yet and from several people that are already in the prison system. And they're hearing that you can't combine the two together. There's even several prison consultants that will tell you, no, you can't do the two together. And it's pretty baffling that I can understand, when you're inside prison and you're hearing prison rumors, I could understand them saying that, but I cannot understand a prison consultant that would give that information when it's just clearly not true. You can absolutely combine the two together. And what's crazy is I know this, not just because, now first, I know this because I went through it, okay? I was sentenced 42 months in federal prison. I received my good time, which was roughly about 6 months. I received 12 months off for the residential drug addiction program. And then I also received 11 months through the Second Chance Act. I would have received the entire 12 months, but once I finished RDAP, I only had 11 months left on my sentence, and that's how much halfway house time they gave me. Now, when I tell this to people, sometimes the responses I get is they tell me, very specific prison consultants, there's a couple of them out there that will actually tell them, oh, he got that because he told on people. He got that because he had a 5K1. Guys, that has nothing to do with Second Chance Act in combination with RDAP. Whether you tell on people or you don't tell on people is not going to have the prison do something, give you some kind of a benefit that they're not allowed to give. It just doesn't make sense. What it is it's a prison consultant that said something in error, and instead of just owning up to it and realizing maybe he learned something new, instead they try to embrace the idea that they know everything. And if somebody else got something different than what they're telling you that can be received, it must be some other crazy way that they received it. Absolutely not true. 100% you can take advantage of good time, RDAP, and the Second Chance Act. You just have to have enough time on your sentence to be able to benefit from anything. Anything beyond 6 months is part of the second chance. Anything 6 months or less is just regular amount of halfway house time. So to me, it baffles me that people that you think you would be relying on for a good source of information will just put out some really, really poor information. And I've got to read over here to see the notes. So who do we got in the room? We have Kimberly, we have Robert, we have, I could easily move this over here. There we go. Now I'm thinking. Now I don't have to spin my neck around so I can't see anything. Thank you, CJ. So next week, I know I told you guys I'd introduce, maybe we'll introduce you to CJ on Saturday. But he's right there. He's sitting over there. I can wave to him. He just can't wave to you guys. He's our secret weapon. So We'll break him out next week. We'll break out the secret weapon next week. But Kevin, what's going on? Robert, Kimberly, Tamara, Junior, Diana, and Mike Winters. All right. If you guys haven't already liked this video, now's a great time. You can hit that thumbs up. Make sure if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to our channel. And if you're interested, Jenny, I don't know if you can grab it or not. I think Jenny's in here too. I think I saw her post. Yep, she's here. Jenny, if you can go to our website and grab the blog that was just posted. We actually posted a blog today on the Second Chance Act. So if you're looking for information about the Second Chance Act, go check out my website, rdapdan.com. And we put blogs up there every week. We have a couple of blogs that go up there. And one of the blogs that went up today, I posted a blog about the Second Chance Act. So feel free to get some information about the Second Chance Act. It's not a sales tool. It's not telling you to hire me if you want to find out more information. It's just what I think is good information about Second Chance, so you kind of understand what it is, how it started, who it's supposed to benefit, who it typically does benefit. And as we all know several times, and remember, just because somebody is to be considered for Second Chance Act doesn't mean they have to give it to them. Thank you, Jenny. 10 people watching, so we should have like 10 thumbs up by now. How many thumbs up do we got, CJ?
8 thumbs, 11 watching.
8 thumbs and 11 watching. So 3 of you are being greedy. Are being greedy with your thumbs. What did I do with my coffee? Did I hide it back here? There it is. Close up. I got some blue eyes today. It's because I'm wearing a blue shirt. So why do you guys think prison consultants give out information that is not only inaccurate, but when they're corrected, they don't want to own up to it? To me, that's a red flag. If you give a prison consultant information, like if you ask him a question and he gives you wrong information or mistaken information, that's one thing. But when you correct them and say, well, RDAP Dan was given RDAP and Second Chance Act, and they try to go to some cockamamie story that, well, that's because he told on everybody or he was working for the government. Somebody had a post online that said RDAP Dan is working undercover for the government. I love how whoever out there is posting these asinine stories. Blows my mind. It's kind of funny and comical. And I don't really know what to make of it because I guess I don't put enough effort in to figure out who it is. I guess I really don't care. Kimberly, thanks for the thumbs up. Derek, what's going on? Hello. So look, going to prison is not easy. The thought of going to prison is not easy. And the minute somebody finds out that prison is an actual reality of what's about to take place in their future, the first thing we all start doing is we start Googling, what can I do to either not go to prison? What can I do to shorten my sentence? What is the best prison to go to? These are some of the things that you can find from our website, from my YouTube channel. Definitely find out from giving us a call. But the reason why we create these videos is I remember exactly what it felt like to sit there in my house with no answers. And every time I would call my attorney, it seemed like I would call my attorney with a list of questions. And when I would hang up the phone, I would look down at my list of questions and go, I'm not really sure he actually answered any of my questions directly. It was all, well, we'll figure that out later. Or we don't need to worry about that right now. Don't be concerned with that. The BOP is going to take care of that. You know, asking questions like, what do I need to do to get into RDAP? Oh, that's up to the BOP. Agreed. It is up to the BOP. And that's a very common answer that we hear attorneys tell defendants or tell clients. And it's because the attorney doesn't know the exact science behind it. So instead of saying, look, I'm not a professional in RDAP. I don't focus my time and energy on RDAP. I didn't go to law school to learn about RDAP. That's not something that we focused on. My focus is to get you the best possible sentence through either legal defense or through whatever plea we're going to take. Anything beyond that, to be honest, is probably outside of my scope of what I normally do, and I don't want to give you bad information, so keep doing your homework. At least that would be honest, instead of telling you, don't worry about it, that's all up to the BOP. Because if you don't worry about it, and you just leave it up to the BOP, now you're just kind of taking a blind shot, hoping that you're going to make it without knowing what effort you should put in. If you're PSR, if you're not properly prepared for your pre-sentence report, and you don't know how to navigate through that, there's a good chance you will not qualify for the residential drug addiction program. We have a client, what's his name? Roderick. Roderick was sentenced to 24 months. He's got the minimum that is required to enter into the residential drug addiction program. And he is going to Lewisburg. Lewisburg Federal Prison Camp is the prison he's going to be surrendering. They gave him a really good surrender date. He got sentenced a couple weeks back, actually about a month ago, and he doesn't have to surrender until June. So he got a really decent amount of time to surrender. But what he didn't know is he knows he's got enough information in his pre-sentence report. He knows that he's got the minimum sentence to get into RDAP. But what he did not know is that when you get to the prison, RDAP doesn't start the same day. It may not start for 30. It may not start for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. You don't know when the next class is going to start. So when you get to prison with a 24-month sentence and your RDAP class may not start for 3, 6, 8, 9 weeks down the road, if that's the case, there's a good chance that now you're going to be outside of that window of opportunity to qualify for any time off through the residential drug addiction program. So what we're doing with him is we're contacting the prison. We actually have a viewer, not a client, but a viewer that's in that prison right now. So we've already sent an email to the inmate asking them to let us know when the next RDAP class starts. And we're putting calls in every day to staff members. Today we called down there and they told me, well, RDAP's gone for the day. And this is 2 p.m. their time. So they're gone at 2. He's like, yeah, they decided to leave early today. I don't know if the CO is telling me the truth or if they really just left early, but they also left early yesterday. So tomorrow, that's going to be the first order of business, is to get the damn prison on the phone, get an RDAP, somebody within either an RDAP case manager or the RDAP coordinator, somebody that can give us some insight as to when the next class starts, because it doesn't do the client any good if they can't take advantage of the class, and they can't, not only they're not going to get the time off, but now they're not going to be able to benefit from the tools that they could be learning based on this. And his judge is willing to change his surrender date to coincide with when RDAP starts. So you have everybody willing to work. Now we just got to get that last little piece of the puzzle. These are some of the things that we do here that people don't necessarily understand. So if you're out there right now and you're being told you're going to get a 24-month sentence and you're all excited because you're going to get 6 months off for RDAP, man, you got to get to prison to start RDAP immediately. And there's only one way you're going to find that out, and that's getting on the phone with the prison almost every day and getting through to somebody. We've got some tricks and techniques. I'm not going to say we have any contacts because, look, we've got contacts at Coleman and at Coleman only. We've got relationships at other prisons, but they're not going to pull favors for us. So we do have some tricks and techniques that we use that we are able to extract this information that we need from the prison. The same thing goes, what's up, Roddy? Yeah, that's who we're talking about. I didn't want to throw you out there like that, but you threw yourself out there. But that's who we're talking about. Roddy Wallace is one of our clients, and trying to figure out when the next RDAP class starts for him. And feel free to chime in here, Roddy, as to why they gave you so much time to self-surrender, because they gave you a nice chunk of time to self-surrender. That's a beautiful thing. So now that doesn't only apply to a 24-month sentence. Let's say you're sentenced to 37 months or 38 months. 37 months is the minimum in order to receive 12 months off of your sentence. So if you've got a 37-month or a 38-month or even a 39-month sentence and you get to the prison and the class doesn't start for 60 to 90 days, there's an opportunity there that you're going to miss that window of opportunity. Instead of getting 12 months off, you're now only going to get 9 months off because you're sitting there for 2 or 3 months without starting. These are some of the moving parts that are behind the scenes that you may not be picking up in your mind right now. People always ask me, we actually were interviewed the other day by a production company that wants to maybe turn this into a TV show. And one of the biggest questions they ask me is, who are your worst clients? I said, honestly, all of our clients are pretty good. But if I had to say, the worst client would be the person that thinks they have it all figured out and doesn't want to really listen to anything you have to say, and they only want to hear what they want to hear. They ask you a question, they're looking for a very specific answer, and if it's not the answer that they want, they'll go start asking other people until they hear what they want to hear, and it's not always the right answer. They think, well, if I have this sentence, they have to give me this, or the judge court ordered this, or the judge told me I'm going to a specific prison. The judge cannot court order you to RDAP. The judge cannot court order you to a specific prison. That is completely up to the BOP. Those of you that are trying to get in the residential drug addiction program, if you do not have information in your PSR that outlines your substance abuse use with timelines, time frames, within the amount of time that the BOP is going to be looking at, you will not get into the residential drug addiction program unless you go above and beyond and you introduce a substance abuse evaluation from a professional, like a chemical dependency professional, that can write an evaluation, that can explain the timelines, that can put it within the format that the BOP is looking for. It's got to be very specific. We've seen several people that are like, well, I'm just going to go to my therapist. I don't want to hire you to use yours. I'm just going to use mine. I'm like, well, make sure your therapist understands what RDAP is looking for, because just a piece of paper saying you have substance abuse issues is not going to cut it. It's got to be very specific to a date and time frames, along with the wording that they use. We see it happen all of the time. And if you don't have it in your pre-sentence report, and you go get a substance abuse, even if you use us to get a substance abuse evaluation, there's no guarantee that the RDAP coordinator is going to approve that evaluation. They may still go off of what's in the pre-sentence report. So it increases your chances. We see it happen all the time where people get into it. We also see people that don't get into it. We just had a lady that got her substance abuse evaluation done. We sent it to her. She did not want us to send it directly to the prison. She wanted us to send it to her. We sent it to her. And from my understanding, she made changes and edits to this pre-sentence report, putting stuff in there that wasn't true, basically to the tune of the substance abuse professional. She wrote in there that she met with the substance abuse professional several years ago, dating back, which never happened. That didn't happen at all, and there was no need to say that. As soon as she did that, it opened up a door where now the RDAP coordinator was asking for clinical notes back then from those date ranges. And then once she had no choice, she emailed the substance abuse professional asking if he would go into a gray area and make up notes from whatever 2 years ago. And of course he wasn't going to do that. And when I found out about that, I about flipped my lid, because that was completely circumvented around me. They went directly back to the substance abuse professional, and he sent me an email telling me this. And of course, the client's upset, and the client wants to not take any responsibility for it. But we can't undo damage once it's done too deep. That's why it's important for you to take the information that we provide and pay attention and go slow and try not to jump ahead of everything and start making these random, sporadic, shoot from the hip type of decisions, because it can have truly, truly dire consequences, as some of you are seeing. Uncoachable and closed-minded. Very true. Jenny just gave a definition of worst client: uncoachable and closed-minded. That's why there are some clients that we just will not take on. You guys remember the lady that came on that did she helped me expose the other prison consultants, RDAP Law, and she wanted to use us for our services, but we couldn't see eye to eye, because she was not ready to take any type of accountability for what she did. She kept saying she didn't do it, but in another statement, she agreed that she did some things that allowed her to get into the sites, but she didn't do exactly what they said, but she did some of the things, and she just kept flip-flopping back and forth. She wanted to come on here and talk about that, about how corrupt the government was, and that's not what this channel is about. There's corruption in every aspect of everything. There's always going to be corruption, because people are human, and people make mistakes. People get greedy. So I don't care if you're in the government, or there's shady government, there's shady criminals, there's all kinds of shady people across the playing field. So to sit here and just go on a pity party about how messed up it is and how not fair it is, all that does is give all of you, because you're in such a desperate time, such a dark time, all it does is give a lot of you the ability to jump on that bandwagon and go, yeah, she's right, it's not fair, because it allows you to direct your focus and attention from not taking accountability for what we did. And that used to be me as well, not taking accountability for what I did, which led me ultimately to go to prison. Me, my best friend, who's also my girlfriend, and my other best friend, who's not my girlfriend, he was actually my real best friend. We all went to prison together because we allowed ourselves to not focus on consequences. And that, to me, is the number one reason why people go to prison. It's not because they committed a crime. It's not because they're out there breaking laws. It's because they didn't think, they didn't stop, they didn't focus on what happens if this does go wrong and what could a worst case scenario consequence be. I guarantee you, if most of you stopped and thought about what you were doing when you did it and really understood the dynamics and looked into it and peeled off layers and layers and layers, and once you got to the root of it, you see that, hey, this could land me in prison, that might be enough to stop a lot of people. That's why we encourage our clients to go out and engage in the community, get involved with community service, mentoring, because you have the ability more than almost anybody else in the universe to interact and have a positive effect to where somebody might hear what you're saying and do something different in their life because of what you told them, because you are a real life story. That's why people want to hire prison consultants that have been to prison. I just had this conversation today with CJ. There may be some awesome people out there that could be amazing prison consultants, but just because they didn't go to prison, a lot of people will not listen to what they have to say, which is a shame, because you probably should never judge who you're getting your information from, because if it's good info, it's good info. And becoming a prison consultant is not rocket science. It's just it's an industry that not that many people have decided to move into, because it's very much to the point where you really need to be thinking outside of the box and being creative with what you're doing and find different ways to really help people. In my opinion, to be a good prison consultant, you really have to have the drive to want to see people do better, see good results. We just heard today, you guys see him in the room sometimes. Oh, Jenny, you don't even know this yet. Juan Carlos got sentenced today. He's been in this room. He was looking at some decent time. He got sentenced to 1 day in prison and 5 years federal probation. I can't take complete credit for that. We helped him with his letters. We gave him some ideas. He worked his ass off. He's got hundreds and hundreds of hours logged. His letters were good. He put in hard work. He put in effort. He was a pain in the ass. Definitely a pain in the ass. He put in the work. He put in the effort, and he got a positive outcome. And he received 1 day. They sentenced him to 1 day prison and 5 years federal probation. To me, that's a success story right there. And as much as I would love to take credit for that and say, oh, it's because of what we did. All we do is plant the seeds, get you in the right direction, tell you what you need to hear when you need to hear it, and don't allow you to veer off path. When we hear you making a poor choice, our job immediately is to point it out and go, why are you, almost like talk down to you in a way to make you feel like shit for continually making these same decisions that ultimately led you to where you are right now. And he snapped out of it and just went into this other direction. Same thing with Chris. Chris is not always in the room. Chris was in the room on Monday. What's going on, Josephine? Josephine's an up-and-coming client. We just spoke to Josephine a little bit. Actually, I think CJ, you spoke to Josephine, didn't you, just now?
I actually just emailed her.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep. Josephine and CJ have been talking back and forth. And, people are going through rough times, guys. I heard Josephine saying something, or CJ saying something about, overheard the conversation that she's getting blasted with media. What you guys are going through, nobody can really understand unless they've gone through it. They can feel sorry for you. They can look at you and go, thank God I'm not in your shoes. I'll tell you what, I used to be so envious of anybody that wasn't me when I was getting ready to go to prison. I don't care where they were in their life. I don't care how much money they had. I don't care what kind of clothes they wore on their back. I don't care what kind of car they drove. I didn't care about any of that except for the fact that, they're free. They can do anything they want. They can plan a 2-week vacation if they want. They can set a vacation 12 months from now and know that they can go. And the fact that I couldn't make any of those decisions, that it was all stripped from me because I didn't know my immediate future. I didn't know when I was going to prison. I didn't know how long I was going to go to prison. I didn't know what prison was going to be like. I didn't know what after prison was going to be like. I did not have any true identity to what my life was going to be like beyond the moment I was in, which was a dark moment because I was not able to necessarily keep myself out of the funk. I didn't have something to turn to like you guys do. And not saying that this is going to solve all of your problems, but I do believe what we do here is doing good things, because if I were not getting emails every day, I get letters and emails and phone calls every day, every week since I've been doing this. Off the charts. Every time we go to the P.O. box, there's letters. There's letters from people we do not even know. Never spoke to these people. They're just and I'm talking handwritten letters. These people are so grateful for the information that we're putting out that they're taking the time to sit down and write a 5-6 page handwritten letter. When is the last time you wrote a handwritten letter? You jump on your email, you get on your text to talk, and you spit out a few things, print it out, send it off, or hit send on the computer and gone. But when you stop and write a handwritten letter and send it to somebody, that's powerful. When I see stuff like that, it really makes, I stop what we're doing and I sit down and read these letters, and they always connect with me. I don't care what somebody's saying, even if they're talking shit and they're telling me they hate my guts. They took their time to write a handwritten letter about how much they hate me. You have to appreciate that. Empty pockets. Awesome, Dan. You are good at the psychological aspect. I have been a psych nurse for 15 years, and you're amazing. High five to Empty Pockets. Appreciate that. Calling all hours of the night and following me. I know I deserve it, but geez. Oh, Josephine, yeah. CJ's actually reading the email you just sent him. Yeah, that's crazy. But like you said, it sucks. It's a horrible position to be in. And what you have to do is the best cure for this is everything that happens from this point forward until you're well beyond your prison, you have to look at as this is part of the consequences. Consequences aren't just going to prison. Trust me. Prison, the actual stay in prison, for most of you, is not going to be the worst part of all of this. For most of you, the worst part of all of this is going to be from now until you start your prison sentence. And don't get me wrong, the halfway house, no fun. Halfway house is like ghetto with a capital G. But this is by far the worst part of the entire process because it's so disarming. You just feel disarmed. Every angle you turn, you feel like it's coming at you, and it's very psychological. I do firmly believe that the feds, not just the feds, state, anybody in any type of law enforcement, in the federal government, whatever it is, I do feel like they've been doing this for so long that they've developed a warfare mentality to where they know how to torture us to get us to do what they want us to do a little bit quicker and not waste so much time. So it is pretty rough. It is scary. And I feel bad that you have to get followed around, Josephine. But you know what? Let them follow you. Just don't give them anything. Do not become a target for them. And what I say by target, you're already in trouble. Don't become an additional target. Don't do anything beyond what you've already done to screw things up. Don't take any shortcuts. I had a client. Well, he is a client. One of our clients, let's say it that way, one of our clients a while back when he decided he needed to start doing the community service because he saw how it was benefiting so many other people, he actually made a really, really shitty decision, and he's really lucky that it didn't backfire on him. He actually went and paid a lot of money, and I think there may even been a drug exchange where he gave somebody money and drugs in return for signing off on hours, only to find out the person that was supposed to sign off on the hours was not in on this, and he had no idea what he was talking about. So he was out the money, out the drugs, didn't get the hours, had to go do the hours legitimately anyway, and could have very well put himself in a giant predicament to where he caught new charges, which could have affected everything that he had worked so hard for up until that point. It only takes that one seemingly unimportant decision, and to me that's a pretty important decision. But for most people, it takes that one seemingly unimportant decision to catapult you into a different direction where little decisions become bigger and bigger and bigger, and you're just blind to them because your rational thought process is now irrational. You've rationalized shitty thought processes, and you're so used to rationalizing it to where now what you see as rational is probably not rational. That's the problem, is you may not notice the messed up things you're doing. That's why it's good to have people that are willing to hold you accountable, tell you what you need to hear, when you need to hear it, and slap you around a little bit, because sometimes you might be hearing it every day from people that are close to you. Hearing it from a complete stranger, that we're all used to strangers kind of pretending to be nice, pretending to care. When you meet that, we've all met that person that's a little like confrontational, and we don't like that because it makes us uncomfortable. Well, damn it, it's good to be uncomfortable, and when you're being uncomfortable, you're allowing yourself to change. You have to go through an uncomfortable stage in order to change any habit, any mentality, thought process you have, anything you want to fix in your life. You have to be willing to go through a period of uncomfortable. If you don't go through an uncomfortable period, you're not really changing. You're fooling yourself, but you're not fooling anybody else. We're actually going to be interviewing somebody, a couple of people in the next couple of weeks that have gone to prison, came home from prison, and are doing super successful things. And look, white-collar criminal. White-collar criminal goes to prison. A lot of people, the thought process behind that is, well, they've got money when they get out. It's easy for them to pick up their lives and go. Maybe true, maybe it's not, maybe it is. So I intentionally am finding some people to bring to you guys that were not white-collar criminals, that were a little on the rough side of the fence, that went to prison, maybe wasn't even their first time in prison, definitely wasn't their first time in trouble, and changed their lives so much that they're still that same person. You look at them, you hear them talk, you think that sounds like somebody that's probably been to prison. But when you hear what they're doing with their life and how they've turned it around and made positive change, if that doesn't tell you that, hey, if they can do it, I can do it, because it's easy to look at somebody that seems like they have things easier and go, well, that's how they got it. They already had money. So again, your rational thought process is very irrational because you're allowing that to assume, to justify your own inabilities to try. We hear people don't want to quit smoking for whatever reason, don't want to go to gym for whatever reason, don't start doing community service for whatever reason, don't have a job while they're on pretrial for whatever reason. Usually when I ask them, they're like, oh, well, I'm on ankle monitor and, they're not letting me have a job. Well, have you asked? Have you really tried? Well, usually no. Usually they're making up these little white lies. White lie, big brown lie, big black lie, big red lie. They're all lies. So they're saying these things to justify. Well, are you going out and doing community service? Oh, I'm getting sentenced in like 2 months. It's probably too late for that. I mean, isn't the judge just going to think I'm doing it for that reason? It's like, quit making excuses. Maybe the judge will think that, but maybe he won't. If there's 1% chance that it's going to change the outcome of your sentencing, why the hell are you not trying harder? I wish to God I had somebody telling me these things. I tell you guys all the time, I believe I would not have gone to prison if I had done all of the processes and I'd done all these steps and I worked these programs the same way I coach so many of you to do. If I had taken my own advice back then, if I just could have sent myself into the past and went and met me and said, hey, do this, this, and this, and you'll probably get probation. Man, I would have done so much. I just didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't think about it. I did not put myself in an uncomfortable situation. Everything felt uncomfortable, but I just allowed it to just drown me. And I sat there and did nothing but go to work every day, which, sure, going to work is a good thing, but there's so much more that I could have done. My letters, bullshit. My personal narrative, bullshit. My preparation for my PSR, bullshit. If it wasn't for my attorney that said, hey, because they asked me, do you use any drugs? When's the last time you used drugs? And I immediately went to, God, I can't tell them that. It's going to somehow give me more time. So I said, no. My attorney said, hey, I need to stop for a minute. Took me out in the hallway and he says, hey, you told me that you drink and smoke. I was like, yeah, but he's like, you need to go in there and tell them that. And he didn't tell me exactly how RDAP works, but he said, look, there's programs that can reduce your sentence, and it's based on that. You need to tell them. So I went back in and told him the truth. Said, well, I've actually been smoking weed pretty much every day for like the last couple of years. I smoke a little bit every night before bed. Helps me sleep. Do you feel like you need it to sleep? It helps me sleep. I prefer it. I don't want to stop doing it. And that's how I got into RDAP. It's because I was honest. So many people are not honest during their PSR, and it's out of fear usually. Fear, embarrassment. They don't want anybody to know. They don't want their family to know. They're proud. Whatever it is, swallow all that shit and do what you got to do. Just don't lie about it. You lie about it, you're going to get called out in RDAP and you won't make it through the program. We're going to read some notes over here. We're going to read some messages.
Derek had a good question.
Derek had a question. Where's Derek at?
He's up right in the middle.
Derek? I don't see Derek. Is it above Josephine?
Keep going up.
Where's Derek's question?
It says when you complete RDAP and are released, is anything on your record? Will employers see that you went through drug and alcohol rehabs?
Okay, so I don't see Derek's question. Where do you see it at?
If you take the slide bar and put it right in the middle, it should be right there.
Let's find. Oh, Derek. Oh, there it is. I see that you were in drug and alcohol rehab. Okay, so Derek's basically asking after prison. Sorry, Derek, I didn't see your question. After prison, if you did RDAP while you're in prison, is anybody going to see that, like employers, anything else once you get out of prison? No, absolutely not. The only people that will see that are the halfway house will know that where you're living, but no employers are going to be able to see that. The only thing your employers will be able to see is if they run a criminal background, a federal criminal background, it will show your charges and that you went to prison, but it will not. And for those of you that have like lengthy sentences, 7 to 10 years, most of that stuff they don't pull criminal history beyond whatever it is, 7 years. So it's not, the 7-year marker doesn't start when you get out of prison. It starts when you get in trouble, when you take your plea. So if you're in prison for 7 years, there's a chance that's not even going to affect you getting a job anyway. But no, they do not see your RDAP history in for employers or anything else. And then what Diana say? Diana said you have control over what some may or may not think. It's an excuse. Yeah, the only thing you have control over is how you think and act. You don't have control over what other people do. And so many times, we go through this period of life where we're sorry for what we've done, and we start reaching out to people and telling them we're sorry. And when we don't get the response we're looking for, we almost get upset. You can't tell somebody you're sorry only because you want them to forgive you. You tell somebody you're sorry because you're sorry. You go out and make amends because you're doing it for you. They can accept it. They can hate you. They can think about it. That's on them. You have no control over that. You're doing things for you. That's the whole point of healing. Everything you do in your life should not be for your family, shouldn't be for your kids, shouldn't be for your husband, shouldn't be for your wife. You need to do it for you. If you're making the right decisions for you, guess what? Indirectly, that's going to affect all of these other amazing people in your life that you want to help. You can't help somebody if you're going around making poor decisions. You hear the guy that white collar crime, was embezzling money, whatever it was. I did it for my family. I didn't want my family to lose the house. Shut up. You did it for you. Because what about your family now? What's going through your family now? One of the questions they used to ask us in RDAP. Most people, once you get to RDAP, you've opened up. You've admitted that you made a lot of bad choices. You admitted that you put yourself here. One of the first questions I remember them asking me, one of my RDAP, my mind just went blank. The RDAP teacher, God, I don't know why I can't think of her name right now. Miss Neesmith, who was my drug counselor basically in RDAP, she asked us, would any of you ever do anything to hurt your children? And of course, everybody's no. And it's like, well, what do you think you're doing right now by being here? And nobody wanted to hear that. Well, I didn't know I was going to go to prison. But when we started making the choices that we made, ultimately, we weren't really thinking about the consequences, which means we weren't really thinking about our families, our loved ones, our kids. Because if we truly were, we would not have made those choices and decisions. That little voice that some other people have that pops up and says, hey, you're doing something stupid. Stop it. We shut it down. We listen to other voices that says, I'm just going to do it this one time. I'm going to make this score. I'm going to move on from it. It doesn't work that way. One little mistake turns into a big mistake, and before you know it, you're just a big, giant mistake. Plenty of community service here to do. Finding someone to let me mentor about my situation seems to be more difficult. No one wants to deal with me. Well, that's an absolute statement, Josephine. And in RDAP, you'll learn all about absolute statements. The fact that you're saying no one wants to work for you or work with you is a mindset. It's a numbers game, just like anything else. Why don't you give us a call tomorrow, and we'll come up with some ideas, some things that have worked for other people. We can put you in touch with some groups that other people are working with, because there's organizations out there that would love to have somebody like you help somebody else going through a similar situation. And when I say mentor, I don't necessarily mean you being the mentor. I'm talking about you having mentors to hold you accountable. So you come up, let's say, for example, this is how this works, guys. So let's say, for an example, you tell me you're going to create a mentor group, and these are people that should hold you accountable. What you're going to do is you're going to have whoever's in your mentor group. Let's say it's me, Jenny, your probation officer, CJ, whoever it is in your mentor group. You're going to email us once a week with a schedule that you plan on following up with throughout that week. I'm going to do this, this, and this. I'm going to go get a job. I'm going to go put in 5 applications to speak at, because you can't promise you're going to get to speak at a school, right? But you're going to go to 5 different schools, and I'm going to give them my best presentation as to why they should let me talk to the children. You're going to go to 4 NA meetings. You're going to go to an AA meeting. You're going to do all of these things. You're going to go to a soup kitchen, whatever it is. You're going to do all of these things. So you let us know ahead of time this is what your plan is. Well, come next week, you give us an update. And you can lie if you want. You can say you did all these things, but I mean, if you lie to me, it's not going to hurt me. It's only going to hurt you. It's not helping you. So if you use your mentor group in the right aspect, you're going to tell us, well, I did this and this, but I didn't do this. And you're going to give an explanation as to why you didn't do this. Then you're going to ask us for feedback. We're going to give you our 2 cents to what we think you could have done differently or what we think you did amazingly. Our job is not to beat you up. Our job is to criticize, good or bad, say great job, or hey, you're making excuses. What I see right now in that statement is nobody will work with me, as I see that as an excuse. Because the world is full of excuses. And I come from the world of sales. And I've seen some of the best salespeople, and I've seen some of the people that go, oh, no one's answering the phone. These leads suck. Nobody wants to buy anything. Meanwhile, the guy sitting right next to him made made $2,000 that week in commissions. And the guy that didn't make any money go, yeah, he's getting better leads. They're giving him the good leads. Instead of going, well, fuck, what is this guy doing different than me? Instead of looking at what he could be doing different to mimic this guy, he's making excuses as to why he didn't get any deals. And we see that in all aspects of life. Sales, watching a sales floor, if any of you have ever been in any kind of call center environment, managed a call center, worked in a call center, it is like watching a miniature universe unravel because you see all of the... Call centers are rough. You're on the phone for 8 hours. You got a headset on, a computer beeping up in your face. It brings the best and the worst out of people. So you get to see real life happen in a very short amount of time to the point where you make a reality show out of this and you've probably got a hit TV program. But I've learned that is how the world works. When people do not get what they want, they didn't get the job they wanted. They didn't get the car they wanted. They got turned down for a loan. There's always excuses. And we can go from excuses because of race. We can go from excuses because of favoritism. We can go from excuses of whatever you want. In the end of the day, what are you doing inside of you to create the opportunity that this doesn't exist? How hard are you really trying? How much effort are you really putting in? And most of us can look deep and realize we've got a lot more in the tank. We're just running on 2 or 3 cylinders instead of the 8 that we got. It's all what you're going to get out of it, what you put into it. Change is not an immediate event. It is a process. It takes time. You have to build new habits. You have to build new routines. And you cannot do that just because you want to. It starts with a thought, but then it requires work and effort. New Year's resolution. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to stop smoking. I'm going to, whatever I'm going to do. I'm going to get in. You see people January 1st, gung-ho. You see him January 2nd, fell off, blaming it on something else. Never will they take responsibility. Never, never, never. And it's something you should study as a person and looking at those types of people and going, I don't want to be like that anymore. It all starts with a decision, and then you make another decision, and then you make another decision. Hold yourself accountable, because if you don't, nobody else will. So we got Jenny asking Rod in here some questions. And I didn't mean to pick on you, Josephine. You just gave me a little open door there. And I figured you're not a client yet. So this is what you're going to get if you become a client. You're going to get a whole lot of phone calls like that. So if you're not prepared to be mentally beaten down a little bit when we think it's necessary, just be careful of who you're hiring because we take it real serious. We want to see you put as much effort as you can possible to come out this. Even if you can't get a shorter sentence, we want to see you go through this and make a positive mindset out of this prison journey that you're about to embark on. And we don't want you to have any excuses for why things didn't work out. We want you to lay in your bunk and go, you know what? I did everything I possibly could do. And this is what it is. And I'm okay with that. Because at the end of the day, They can lock me up, but they can't lock up my mind. Your mind is free. You're walking that track with your music on. You're imagining all of these things you're going to do. That's all great. Do it every single day, but do something every single night. Put a plan in action. Write down your thoughts. If you're going to start a business, start focusing on that now. Preparing to release from prison should start today, not 30 days before you get out, or you're setting yourself up for failure, disappointment. You're going to run into things that you didn't expect. Have realistic expectations, short-term goals that are going to turn into long-term goals. So if you know you want to have whatever it is, a brand new house when you get out of prison, you need to start coming up with some short-term goals now that are going to create that possibility for those stepping stools to get you to that next level. That's what it's all about, guys. It's about taking ownership of your shit. I just realized I really want to go home and watch The Walking Dead. I did not watch The Walking Dead yet. And I felt like there's something that Egan would say.
We can do a recap on Saturday for you.
Yeah, recap. We'll do a Walking Dead recap on Saturday. We got April Fools on Sunday. So I'm not trusting any of you crazy people coming and emailing me on Sunday. I'm not reading emails on Sunday. So no April Fools for me. I know, Josephine. I'm just pulling your leg. All right, guys. That's all the time we have today. We'll be back on Saturday, the 30th. How many days are in this month? 31?
30.
Whatever Saturday is. We'll be back on that day. We're going to talk about some fun stuff. We've got some really interesting things. When I tell you guys we've got stuff in the works, I can't tell you the name of the company, but we had an amazing interview with a production company. Jenny was interviewed. CJ was interviewed. Shelly was interviewed. Our SEO team was interviewed. They actually spoke to a couple clients, and they're even looking for a couple of clients that maybe want to be part of the show. They're looking for like 2 clients before they go in, 2 clients that are inside, and 2 clients after release. They want to track this entire process based on how we do it, and they really like the energy and how so many of you benefit from this. So if any of you are interested in being a part of something much bigger that is going to put information, stop thinking about, I don't want people to know about what I did. That is the old you. Embrace what you did. Let people know what you did so you can show them. Everybody says they want to get a shorter sentence. They want to go do community service, and they want to talk about what they did so they can help somebody else. Well, this is possibly a syndicated television show that possibly will air in, a year, 2 years, however long it takes. And it's going to happen because of awesome people like you that want to share your story about where you were, where you are, and how you got to where you're going to be when you haven't been where you're going to be yet. And that's the real mind kicker, is you're going to be somewhere else. In prison, I used to write myself letters to future Dan. If you're thinking about doing something stupid, and I'd have these letters are finally getting put into place. We're still going to start reading them real soon. But I've got letters that I wrote to myself in the future to keep me accountable. So the old me that was in rock solid mindset in prison going, I don't ever want to fuck up again, because I hear stories about people getting out of prison and making mistakes because they forget about everything in prison. I didn't want that to be me. So I wrote myself letters from in prison so I can read them today and remember what I told myself in case I'm thinking about something stupid. Remember what it was like sitting in that cold cubicle staring at a wall, missing my friends, missing my family, missing my girlfriend, missing my dog, missing a TV, missing a couch, all these things I took for granted. Next time I have that thought about, I could probably skip this step, I can't let myself do it. And that's the point you got to get to. So if you're interested in becoming a part of a possible reality TV show from a major network or from a major production company that sells shows to major networks, shoot me an email, rdapdan@gmail.com. Let me know if you're interested and we can talk about it. We'll kind of leave it at that for now. All right, guys, have a great day, a great evening. It's Wednesday. What is Wednesday? Hump Day, right? It's Hump Day Wednesday. So go do something fun, go do something nice for somebody. Get out there, make a plan. Focus on what you need to do. Take that next step. If you're feeling down and concerned, use my information. It's all here on my screen, 509-434-4695. My email, rdapdan@gmail.com. Don't forget to text the word YouTube to 76626. Put yourselves on our notification list. And until then, I will see you all on Friday. I'm RDAP Dan. I love every single one of you. And as always, one day at a time, people helping people, communities method. All right, guys, have a great week. Peace.